lives even before they could reach home. Milan Sharma for India Today.
Which is why on a day when the Narendra Modi government is celebrating the first year of Modi 2.0 and the lockdown has been slightly relaxed and you have the Shramik train deaths, I want to go for my political face-off this Saturday night. Manish Tiwari, Member of Parliament and Senior Congress Leader is joining me, and Rajiv, Pratap, Rudy, Senior BJP Leader and Member of Parliament is joining me. Manish Tiwari, I want to start with you because the immediate news point is the fact that the lockdown has in some way been relaxed. They're talking about this being Unlock 1.0, but you've gone and tweeted and said when Lockdown 1.0 was implemented, India had 381 cases and 7 corona deaths. When Unlock 1.0 is announced, India has 174,198 cases, 4,977 deaths. We are at number 6 in the world in number of cases. Seriously, what does the government smoke? You want to explain that to us? Because while you are saying this in your own state of Punjab, Captain Amrinder Singh is also extending the lockdown. Is this politics that you are playing when you are blaming the government now for relaxing the lockdown?
Well, Rajdeep, let me take it straight off the bat. Captain Amrinder Singh or the state of Punjab is only implementing the guidelines which are being handed down by the central government in terms of the NDMA Didkats. If you read even today's notification, it says that no state under any circumstances will relax the guidelines. They can only strengthen the guidelines or make them more severe if they feel like. So essentially, if let's suppose a state would have taken a stand to the contrary, then everybody would have gone all guns blazing, saying that you are violating the national consensus. The short point I was trying to make is that on the 22nd of March, when the Janata curfew followed by the lockdown at a 4-hour notice was announced, India had 381 cases and 7 deaths. And these 381 cases were being reported from 123 districts. Today, you've crossed 180,000 cases and you have over 4,700 deaths. And now that you are saying that there needs to be smart containment, my point is that why wasn't the smart containment done on the 23rd of March when we had such limited number of cases rather than locking down the entire country? You would have been able to save the huge economic cost which the country has had to incur.
No, so are you saying that what the government, are you saying, Manish Tiwari, what the government has done today on the 30th of May, they could have done in the 3rd week of March? Is that what you are saying?
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying, because that is what the government is doing now. The government is saying that a bulk of the caseload, 80% of the caseload is coming from 13 cities. And even in those 13 cities, it is not as if the entire city is infected. Now, if you look at Delhi, Delhi has a certain number of containment zones, and already you have Delhi's hospitals which are overflowing. So what you required on the 22nd of March, when you had a low caseload, you should have been a little smarter than, completely aping the West or countries which had gone down for a complete lockdown, and done it in a more calibrated and a more graded manner. Possibly when you were at 180,000 cases and 6th in the number of cases being reported from all over the world, this was the time to go in for a far, far more stringent lockdown. Rather than doing
but could the government have foreseen? No, Mr. Tiwari, let me just push you once more. Do you believe the government could have foreseen in the 3rd week of March how the corona trajectory would move? Are you telling me that 3rd week of March was the right time to have a very different strategy rather than a national lockdown at 4 hours notice?
Well, that begs the question, what was the government doing from the 30th of January till the 23rd of March, between when India's first case was reported and you had the Janata curfew? So therefore, till the 22nd of March, everything was hunky-dory. Parliament was functioning normally. Suddenly you have a Janata curfew and then you have a lockdown at 4 hours notice. It begs an obvious question. What changed between the 22nd and the 23rd and the 24th of March? Was there an exponential rise in the number of cases that prompted such a rigorous lockdown? And when you actually have a rise in the cases, you're at 180,000 cases, you're opening up the entire country. Either that decision wasn't correct or this decision isn't correct.
You know, well, respond to this, Rajiv, Pratap, Rudy, because Manish Tiwari is claiming that the lockdown was perhaps imposed at a national level at 4 hours notice. And now when the unlocking is taking place, this is something he believes that could have happened much earlier. Because now it's happening when your cases have reached 180,000.
You see, I do appreciate the retrospective wisdom of Manish Tiwari, and his only observation is that 4-hour lockdown. And post 24th March, we had a lockdown for 21 days, the 14th April extension, and on the 3rd May extension, 3rd extension on 1st of May, and so forth. But fortunately or unfortunately, none of the Congress leadership, including Mr. Manish Tiwari, who appeared on the television debates most of the time, did have this retrospective wisdom. But I appreciate his retrospective wisdom, which has emerged today, saying that the lockdown was wrong, which none of the Congress people, and including the Chief Minister of Punjab, had protested much before others, and including other states like Telangana, who said that we can take care of economy later, but first save life. So anyway, that is the viewpoint of Manish Tiwari. Now coming back to how India has done. Now it's Manish has an audience, I too have an audience, and the audience have to decide whether we are correct. Well, no one in the world said India is wrong, whether it's WHO, UN, or all the respective bodies, the scientists, the ICMR, and so forth and so on. And the best part is, if you look at the world figures today, Rajdeep, what we reached, India reached a figure of 125,000 cases in 115 days, while developed nations which had medical infrastructure like UK, Italy, Spain, Germany, US reached between 53 to 69 days. Still, he would say India did bad. The death rate in India as compared to the world is 0.3 per lakh, and the world is 4.5, and many more are 10, 12, 15. But still Manish Tiwari would say the Prime Minister did not do well, and the states, including his state of Punjab, did not do well. The number of people infected in India is 7.9 per lakh, and the world average is 62, but Manish Tiwari would say India did not do well. So, nonetheless, his figures
could India have prepared better? Let's assume whether India could India, Mr. Rudy, could India have done better in the months of January, February, March in preparation?
Yes.
Could you have prepared better rather than a lockdown at 4 hours notice, which caused untold misery to many?
Just a second. Yes, Rajdeep, he had questioned this. I was going to answer it. Now, the first case was reported where? It was in Kerala on 30th. It was detected, and the Kerala was a state which did fantastic. It was controlling it. There was no spread. And it's the wisdom of the government to decide when and what. Right or wrong, down the line 6 months, we'll all have the time to do and to analyze whether it was correct or not. 4 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, it's the wisdom of the government. And that wisdom of the government was wrong or right, me, Rajiv, Pratap, Rudy, or Manish Tiwari cannot judge it today, because the world said what India did was correct. And the fact remains, for example, and I would repeat again, for example, Sikkim doesn't have a single case today. If people who travel to Sikkim go via Jalpaiguri and Siliguri, which is West Bengal, and if the Prime Minister doesn't take a decision that we have to put in a lockdown, even those states of Northeast which were not affected would have been affected. So the Prime Minister was wrong in doing that and protecting even those states which had to be protected. When you come preparation, yes, we did not. We just had one institute for vaccine test for this corona test. Now we have 670. We did not manufacture a single kit. Now we manufacture more than 10 lakhs a day. We have PPE kits, and now the country, the Prime Minister prepared the country to know exactly what is corona, how to fight it, and we have developed that skills. We know.
Let Manish Tiwari respond now to what you've said, because you've raised
all this coming together.
Sure. You've raised important points. Manish Tiwari, respond to what Rajiv Pratap Rudy is saying, that A, he claims that the Prime Minister prepared the country for coronavirus, and over these 2 months, India has been able to build its health infrastructure, and B, India has done much better, according to him, than many other countries when it comes to fatality rates or total number of corona cases in terms of how quickly the curve has reached 150,000 and beyond.
Let me make 3 quick points, Rajdeep. First of all, every policy which is put in place, conceptualized and implemented by the government must pass the test of hindsight. So therefore, to say that we were not able to foresee as to what is going to happen on the 24th of March just speaks about bad policy management and not being able to anticipate as to what is coming. The second thing which I want to point out is that India's 175,000 odd cases are still at a very low rate of testing. We've barely done about 35 lakh tests, 3.5 million tests. And if you look around the world, in every other country, the number of people who have been tested are far, far greater than what India has been able to test. So therefore, your 175,000 cases are coming at an abysmal rate of testing, whether it was because of lack of infrastructure or otherwise. I think we'll have time to go into that. The third point which I wanted to make is that our friend Mr. Rudy talked about Sikkim. Well, actually, Sikkim locked down much earlier than the rest of the country. Sikkim introduced a lockdown on the 15th of March. And in fact, even before that, they had asked all foreign tourists to leave. To say that the Prime Minister introduced the lockdown on the 23rd of March to protect Sikkim, which has a population of 6.9 lakh people and abuts China, I think is a completely erroneous statement, because the fact is that Sikkim was far ahead of the rest of the country. They had anticipated a problem. Right. And they took all the right decisions. And now coming to augmenting health infrastructure, Rajdeep, how many more ventilators have we been able to procure in the past 2 months? What is the geographical spread of those ventilators? How many of our primary health institutions have we been able to equip? How much critical care facility have we been able to actually create? How many more COVID-19 beds have been added? Is there any transparency on this data? All you hear is source-based data. In fact, even the daily briefings, which the health ministry used to do, and it's unfortunate that rather than the health ministry, there was a joint secretary of the health ministry doing those briefings. Even in those briefings, there has been absolute lack of transparency with regard to how much we've progressed in terms of augmenting our medical infrastructure. And then again, this argument which is being made, if we wouldn't have locked down earlier, we would have had an X number of cases. In fact, the health ministry did a briefing on the 14th of April when the first lockdown was ending, saying that we would have had 8.6 lakh cases, up from 341 if we wouldn't have locked down. That would have implied a daily rate of growth of 40%. The highest any country has registered is actually 19%, and that is Russia. And India has been constant on a rate of growth of 7.2%. In fact, if you look at it from the 1st of April till the 25th of May, if I remember the figures correctly from my head, our infection to testing rate has been constant at 1:25. So therefore, there is absolutely no empirical data which at this point in time substantiates that the kind of stringent lockdown that we imposed on the 23rd of March has actually paid dividends. In fact, on the contrary, it has destroyed the economy and it has destroyed the lives of millions of people who've had to walk home, people who've been crushed under trains, people who've died in Shramik expresses. In fact, who's accountable for all those deaths? Who's responsible for all those deaths?
Let Mr. Rudy respond to that.
Of people mowed down under trucks. Is this government going to take responsibility for all the people who've died?
Rajiv, Pratap, Rudy, you want to respond to that? That's been the darker side. Let's be very clear. The migrant mess-up has been a darker side.
Yes.
You cannot run away from that. And therefore, is that something that you believe could have been avoided?
Yes. I'll come back to what Manish, my dear friend, has said. And he said we could not foresee. Yes, the people of this country, 1,400 million people saw 5 years of governance, which we knew how to do. And then we came from 282, we became 303. Unfortunately, Congress was there where it stood. And he says it was bad policy management. I would challenge Manish Tiwari and to say that he should say that lockdown was wrong. I did not hear any one of his leaders speak like that. And the third, the parliament was on when Mr. Manish Tiwari and his leaders were there. They thought about Twitter action, but no one spoke in parliament. They had the wisdom of 52 members which they had. No one got up in parliament when this thing was happening and the parliament was on, and this 30 days period which they were talking.
Sir, Mr. Rudy, can I just correct you for a little bit? Not Mr. Tiwari, but yes. I distinctly recall opposition leaders in the Rajya Sabha appealing to Venkaiah Naidu, the chairperson in the Rajya Sabha, to keep parliament in abeyance, to adjourn parliament. In fact, he in turn upbraided them for wearing masks, saying, why are you wearing masks? This is in the middle of March, when they wanted parliament to stop. But at that time, you wanted to topple a government in Madhya Pradesh is the charge.
Yes, Rajdeep, I'm going to come to that point.
Yes,
I'm saying that what you are saying is exactly what I'm saying, that there was no noise made in parliament. That is one of the references. Now he talks about testing and deaths. The figure which cannot be hidden is deaths. And even if you look at the deaths, we can understand the level of contamination in the society. So that the deaths are low, irrespective of the testing or no testing. I'm being an orthodox. It means the infections are low. So that is my aspect. When you talk about the migrants, yes, it's a sad story what has happened. But at the end of the day, these migrants are coming back to my state. I am from Bihar. And Manish is from Punjab. And we are long-time friends. They are coming back from Gujarat. He said in one of the interviews, why I don't talk about Gujarat. They came back from Maharashtra. They came back from Punjab. They came back from Delhi. And they are shedding crocodiles' tears for all those my brothers and my hard-working men who create wealth and riches in these states. They were thrown out from the states. They were not looked after. And 53 lakh people in 4,000 special trains were transported to Bihar. And the statesmanship of the Chief Minister of Bihar and the Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar, Nitish Kumar, we have more than 5,000 quarantine centers running there. They couldn't take care of all these people who have made them rich. They allowed them to... And there were cases reported in Mumbai, in Surat, where instigation took place for these laborers to assemble in large numbers. Right. We have seen those truths also. So when you talk about migrant laborers, yes, it's my state which has suffered. It is the
Manish
state
Tiwari
of Uttar
respond
Pradesh
to what Mr. Rudy is saying,
and
that this is a collective response.
The most are people from Punjab or Maharashtra. This is the most. Yes, so the responsibility of the receiving states, the responsibility of the sending states and the railways. But what is happening is all those states who need them actually.
So you're saying center has no responsibility. Mr. Rudy, are you telling me that the entire responsibility for the migrant crisis now should be put at the door of the state governments? That they are the ones who failed?
Well, they had the riches, and I told you a figure this morning that out of 117 principal commissionerates across the country which tax collection is there, it is only these 7 cities which have 70 of them, and rest 65 of them are across the country. So the riches are in Ludhiana, Jalandhar, it is in Surat, it is in Mumbai, it is in Chennai, it is in Hyderabad. And there are the places which rich people have lived, but they couldn't take care of
Manish Tiwari respond to what you're saying. Manish Tiwari, the lockdown,
what is the apathy of these people from Punjab. Now they will want us back. Now this is thing which they have to answer. Why couldn't they keep them back? Why couldn't you convince
Manish
them
Tiwari, why don't you respond to Rajiv Pratap Rudy? You are blaming the centre, the railway minister for the mess up.
Why were they thrown out of their houses by the,
let him respond.
By the owners of the house?
Manish Tiwari, you want to respond? The migrant crisis is effectively a crisis that lies as much with state governments as it does with the centre.
That's absolutely incorrect. And if Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy has stopped filibustering, let me answer that straight off. For all practical purposes, the lockdown was over on the 28th of March, 4 days after it was put in place, when millions of people started walking home. At that point in time, Rajdeep, there was no economic crisis. Nobody was throwing the migrants out of their homes. It was the panic which was created by the Prime Minister with his announcement and a lockdown and a 4 hours notice saying stay where you are, which created unbelievable panic around the country. And when you talk to those migrants, and I talked to all my deputy commissioners, they said that those people started going home thinking that this is a rich man's disease. This is a disease which has come from outside. It is going to afflict the cities more. And so if we have to die, we'll rather die in our own communities than in the city. And number two, let me tell Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy, and he studied in Chandigarh, Punjab has the most rigorous tradition of langar. And there was not a single person in Punjab, whether migrant or poor, who actually went unfed in those 21 or 30 days, initial days of the lockdown. In fact, every Gurdwara in Punjab, every other religious institution in Punjab put out langars and fed people who required support at that point in time. And to say that the central government is not responsible, the state governments are responsible, I very respectfully say is being absolutely and completely irresponsible. Why couldn't the central government have provided transport to them earlier? Why did it take them almost 1.5 months to start running these Shramik specials? When those people started walking home, you first bleached them with bleaching powder, then you detained them in quarantine camps, which were unsanitary. Fortunately, India has a stronger level of immunity, and thankfully we have a lesser number of deaths. But the fact is that the central government turned a complete blind eye, a complete Nelson's eye towards the plight of the migrants. And even today, you do not hear a word of regret, a word of reproach, an apology from the central government for the appalling treatment which they have meted out to the migrants. Yes, I agree with Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy that as a state, as a society, we should have behaved with much more sensitivity. But may I also point out, since he's trying to make the distinction between the states, that the states that he's talking from and the states that he comes from is exactly the state which refused to take the migrants and said that where you are, we do not want our people back. Rather than shedding crocodile tears, rewind back to your own conduct as to what happened between the 23rd of March and when the first Shramik special started running.
Can I ask you, therefore, Mr. Rudy, in conclusion, today is not just Unlock 1.0, it's also about 2 years of the Modi government, 1 year of Modi 2.0. Do you believe this is an occasion to celebrate or to introspect? Rather than tom-tom the achievements, is this a time to introspect, do you think? Is the government out of sync with the reality on the ground when it sort of speaks of its achievements? Was today a day instead to introspect, sir?
There are 2 points. First, I must come back to Manish Tiwari. You have made a charge against the Chief Minister of Bihar. And Chief Minister of Bihar, Mr. Nitish Kumar, had said that once our national policy of migrants and how people have to come, I will abide by it. So you are completely unaware what Nitish Kumar ji had said. So it's very easy to ask the tenants to throw out their people who are staying and then push them on a train, fed or not unfed. And if they were fed and happy and their wages were being paid, they would have not decided. And again, there have been charges against the Congress party for instigating these people and wanting them to travel back because they did not want to share that wealth which has been created with them. And it is the state government of Bihar, trains after trains, they had to check them, they had to quarantine them, they had to give food, they even paid tickets, the fare of the tickets, and they gave money for the stay, and they provided food and thali and gamcha and so forth, and there are 5,000 quarantine centers. Is this a time to
celebrate or
introspect?
It's
so easy to say when you throw out people, it was for the state. Now that your last question, so Manish, your falsehood has been, people are watching how wrong you can speak about a state government, especially a state government which has done a stupendous job. Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has done an outstanding job, and we are taking care of people whom you have thrown out, and we are not scared of it. We will take care of them and we will lead them back. Will come back to us. And when you talk about the introspection, you say, please, last. Manish, let me finish. Manish, can I? Manish, I don't never.
Gentlemen, no cross talk. No cross talk. Is this a time for introspection? 30 seconds. 30 seconds, Mr. Rudy. Is this a time for reflection?
Last question.
Where is the empathy? You should be apologizing to those migrant laborers who had to go by in very difficult conditions. Where is that? That should be the focus today.
I was going to speak about it.
Please do.
Rajdeep, I was going to speak about it.
Sir.
Yes. Now, we have a government, we have a prime minister, and the country has faith in him. And we do need to tell them that pre-COVID, we had a 5-year agenda. You voted us back to power. We were nudging ahead with a on a fast track and batting on a front foot. A pause button has come, but we have done earlier in 5 years what no government in the last 65 years did. We have done on 370, what 70 years we have done on.
Why not just say sorry? When will someone in this government, just a minute, Mr. Tiwari. When will, Mr. Tiwari, just a minute. Mr. Rudy, when will someone in this government say sorry?
The people of this country has.
Exactly. When will someone in this government say sorry?
We are sorry. No. So it is sorry not to Manish Tiwari or Rajdeep Sardesai. Sorry to those people who were thrown out from these states, who were tortured, who were instigated. Sorry to them, and sorry for the behavior of these people who are rich and they are exploiting the poor and shedding crocodile tears. Sorry for them, not for these people who are instigating that. And that's the story.
Okay. I appreciate both of you joining us.
Sorry to those poor people, but not sorry to these people who have created this situation.
I hope the Prime Minister at least apologizes to those migrants whom he forced out on the roads, made them walk thousands of miles home, carrying their belongings on their heads, and not a single bus was allowed to run, not a single train.
We reached 54 lakh people home.
You know, it's very easy to try
we
and
have reached 54 lakh, Manish. It is easier.
Failure of
it is easier.
Time out.
1947, Mr.
Manish. Okay, Manish Tiwari and Rajiv, Pratap, Rudy, both of you have had equal time. We've had a debate where we've given both of you equal time to speak on a critical issue of our times as we now move into Unlock 1.0. Have we learned the lessons or not? We'll have to wait and see.